Welcome to the Arcfluence Podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Karakan, your host, and with me today, as usual, is my co-host and business partner, Paul Fackins.
Good afternoon. Almost good evening. Man, it's been a crazy day, week, month, year.
Quarter.
Yeah. I missed out on the last podcast, or I don't know how we're going to post these, but I missed out on one of our podcasts that we recorded recently. So
yeah, we missed
sad.
you. We missed you.
Yeah. Although this weekend, you know the Cars movie, the little pit stop guy.
Yeah,
I'm excited because it's race weekend.
I know. I'm so. I need more Formula One in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how the team in red do this weekend.
Yes,
so.
I mean I'm not going to stop loving them even if they don't win, but they do need to win. Yeah. We got a shot this year. This is going to be a fun season.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a fun episode. We get to. Because I remember when I was looking for a place, considering all the different areas that are here in Central Ohio, it's like where are we going to
buy a house?
Where are we going to land? You know, what makes the most sense?
Yeah.
Where does my money go the farthest? Where are the schools going to be good for my son?
Can I walk and get a coffee? Are there beautiful amenities and gardens to look at?
Yeah. Do I want something old that I'm going to have to dump a ton of money into and make beautiful? Or do I just want something that's new where I don't have to worry about it? So many things to consider.
Absolutely. We are basically starting our deep dive into our neighborhood series, where we're going to be talking about all the interesting and different things involved in Columbus's neighborhoods, and actually we're going to be expanding to Central Ohio, right?
Yeah, and when you say Columbus, obviously some of these neighborhoods are their own separate cities, jurisdictions. They're completely independent from Columbus. But I mean, the whole area is considered, Central Ohio or whatever. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm from the Columbus area," you could be in Upper Arlington and say you're from the Columbus area, even though you're in a separate city technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our guest today is Isabelle Trepkoski. She is a realtor here in Central Ohio, who actually works with my wife Sarah on her team, and basically we are working together on. We have a future project coming up that's super exciting, and I really like the way that she approaches real estate as a whole. It's interesting to me, and I think I mentioned this on the show. Is like. I know a lot of realtors, and not everybody is in the day-to-day of residential realty and working with all these different people. There's a lot of personalities. There's a lot of things to deal with. It's harder than people think.
Well, and she also grew up in the area, so she has a different perspective and an intimate knowledge of the Columbus, area and surrounding areas. So yeah, and I'm not gonna use her full name. I'm gonna call her by Izzy, because that's when I first met her. That's what I knew her by,
and that's what we call her. So yeah. Yes. So I'll be calling her Izzy as well. But with that, let's get into the show. Izzy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are really excited to chat with you today about all the neighborhoods in Central Ohio, but we're going to focus on mostly and pretty much specifically Columbus today, and talk about a lot of the nuances between these places, maybe the price points, maybe can we walk and get a coffee, or do we need to drive, where are we going to go? What's the lot sizes like?
Well, and technically a couple of your ones that you have on the list here are cities within themselves. Like
exactly.
Outside of Columbus.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great exercise for anyone in the industry, and also just a really fun episode for people who are looking at Columbus. We have so many, the city's exploding. We have so many people moving to Columbus right now. It's a fun exercise for me, and I think it'll bring a lot of value to our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to dive in.
Before we get into these neighborhoods, I'd love for you just to talk a little bit about your journey. Obviously, we've worked together. My wife is a licensed realtor as well. And we give a lot of referrals to you. Can you just chat about your story and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, Nick, I think I actually met you before I ever met Sarah, because we would go to Coin and chat at Coin back. Now I'm like too busy with kids and I can't make it to Coin very often, but in the early days it was very fun.
I can't believe I've been doing that for 7 years plus. now. That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. Back when I was in that little room at like the barbecue restaurant, me and my husband would go when we could.
Smokehouse.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, we learned so much from going to those meetings. It was great to connect with you and with Jesse and people like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit about me, kind of how I got the real estate bug. So I've had my license for almost 4 years as a realtor, but I say the journey's happened about 10, 12 years ago when we bought our first house, me and my husband, when we were 21 down in German Village area. It was kind of a wild ride. We were just house hunting and this one came up, and then our realtor at the time that was helping us, she comes back to us and she's like, it's actually an online auction. And this was 2013. So like internet was around, but it was a little more dicey than it is nowadays. She's like, yeah, we have to bid or click buy now on this online auction website to purchase this home. It's not like a normal contract. So we were like, okay,
yeah.
we'll give that a try.
It was really popular for a while. I remember seeing a lot of those auctions pop up several years ago.
I've heard of like a sheriff's sale or auctions like that, but I've never heard of something like that where it's like an online, like you're bidding on a car or something or a piece of art or whatever.
It was before COVID when it got really popular, and I think the whole, do we want a realtor? Do we not want to pay 6%? And like, how can we navigate this and play this game? So a lot of people were doing it.
I, to this day, don't know if our realtor got paid. Like it was such a wild experience because there was no one on the other side. It was literally only interacting through this website, and our realtor navigated it very, very well. But like she did all the work, and I was like, are you even getting a commit? Like I don't know to this day, like who knows? But it all worked out great. But it was a total fixer-upper in German Village. And when we bought it, we kind of thought like, oh, we're going to live here forever. This is like our forever home. And we, over time, did all this bootstrap fixing up, refinished the floors ourselves, did a huge kitchen remodel, moved walls in the house, things like that. Very, very quickly, probably within about a year and a half of living there. And then we started to notice on our street, there were houses going for sale. And I was like, oh, what's this house listed at? And it was like
way more,
double, if not more than what we paid for our home. And we were like, oh,
let's get out of here. Let's take the money and run.
Let's test this out. So we decided, we're like, if we can hit this number, can we hit 300,000, we'll sell the house. And it was kind of like, we're going to list it and see what happens. And I didn't have my license at the time. So even the realtor we were working with, I was like, we're going to list it here. We may or may not sell.
Was your motivation to sell also because like your family was growing and you wanted to get into a better school district, or what was the motivation besides the money?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. The money. So we had like student loan debt and things like that. And I mean, we both had stable jobs, but when you're paying those like payments every month, it's like, how is this ever going to balance out? Like, are you ever going to get out of this? And
sure.
My husband is very fiscally responsible, probably more than me. And he was like, no, if we can do this, this could totally like turn our life around. And so we were like, all right, we'll test it out, even though we like loved this house. And then we ended up selling it for like way over asking price.
Yep.
And like had multiple offers. And when we walked away, we were able to completely cash out all of our student loans, pay off all of our debt, and go buy another house, put 20% down on that.
There you go.
And so
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the moment,
even if you love the house, when it's like that beneficial financially, it's like a no-brainer. It's like, sign me up.
Yeah. I know. It was a tough choice, but in the long run, like once we did that, we were like, there's like something to this real estate thing. Like that was the moment. Cause like both of our families had never only bought and sold pretty traditionally. I did grow up in a duplex for the first part of my life. So I did have a little bit of an understanding, but that was more my grandmother lived on one side, my parents lived on the other. But that was the first moment we were like, real estate. And then from there, we kind of started researching more about, investing in real estate, utilizing your home as an investment more so. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then it took a while, But we finally bought our first rental property and dove in headfirst on that and started learning how to be a landlord and things. That's when we started going to Coin because we had bought our first rental property.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we don't really know what we're doing. And like, we need to figure this out a little bit more. But then in 2022, I believe, I met John Styer through a networking group. And I was like, oh, I've dabbled with getting my real estate license because I see all these deals, but we can't, take everything down ourselves. And he was like, oh, I'm starting a brokerage. Like, let's meet up, let's talk. And it went from there. And I got my license super quick. I like blew through the classes as quickly as possible because I knew I was like, if I don't just dive into this, I'll get cold feet and won't pull the trigger. And it ended up being such a game changing. And I ended up leaving my full-time job to do real estate full-time. And it's been really, really fun ever since.
And now you can actually pair, because this gives you kind of a superpower for your investment portfolio. So so it gives you a little bit more foresight and I guess just you can now having access to the MLS. And listen, the market goes in cycles. Yeah. So there's some times where it doesn't make sense to buy off the market, but there's some times where it does. And when you have the access to the MLS and you have a pulse on what the market is actually doing, you really can kind of predict and stay ahead of these cycles to know when, okay, it's time to buy another property or it's time to sell, our least performing in our portfolio, so I think it's amazing. I know a lot of realtors who have their license and they're not necessarily full-time in this. Those of, we had a saying, I was licensed in New York City and 90% of the money is made by 10% of the realtors, which I think is, it makes sense because there's a chunk of people who just don't work it full time. There's also a chunk of people who are just have it for an investor piece. And then there's the professionals who are in it every single day, the warriors. And those are the people who make the money. So,
yeah, I definitely, when I got my license, I knew I was like, okay, this is a path to being able to do real estate and like what we love full time. And honestly, I've found so much joy with like helping other people. One of my big like pillars of my business is treating your home as an investment and setting you up for those lifelong investments. So I love helping like the young first-time home buyers, like say, all right, this is a stepping stone. Like this could be such a game changer in your life, how it was for me and my husband. So
absolutely,
it's fun to kind of marry those two things into something that can also be an occupation.
Well, a lot of people, this is a fun camp and a fun argument where if you are living in the house, it's not considered an investment. Some people have that standpoint.
Right.
I would say there's some validity to that. However, you are still putting yourself in a position to become an investor, because if you're creating equity in a property, in an investment that you have, whether it still may be a liability because you are living in it, it's not cash flowing, but when you're creating that equity, now you're putting yourself in position to have a HELOC and become the bank yourself, at least for that deposit, right? For that initial deposit for that investment property that you're looking to buy in the future.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on the area though too, because obviously Columbus, Central Ohio, like this region has seen certain things happen within the last 5-10 years, right? And so like that also puts us in a unique position to leverage some of these things in that way.
Yeah, and you're right.
Like, up in the Akron area, I don't think people are doing it to the same extent as down here.
It's different.
Yeah, so it's different.
If you go to California, New York, like San Francisco, you're investing for an equity gain. Like you might even take a loss for a couple of years, but then you can flip it, you can sell it in 2 years and make hundreds of thousands of dollars in the increase in value.
Yeah.
Columbus is, we'll use Akron. I like that analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cash flow city. So the entry level for real estate is a lot lower.
Yeah. Or Dayton, an area close to Columbus.
So you're able to buy a house relatively inexpensive, and then the rents cover the mortgage, no problem, and you're making a few $100 a month. So it's easier to cash flow. But you're right, the values don't really go up as fast.
Yeah.
Columbus is this amazing, and we might not be here for very long. I think we're moving towards the New York, San Francisco model. But right now we're experiencing the equity gain and the cash flow piece, which I think is super exciting. It's kind of it's a really good market to be in if you happen to just be lucky enough to live here right now and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I kind of coach my clients that I'm like, at least if you can hold a property for 2, 3 years, you'll see upside on that, on the other side of that. Ideally, we're holding for 5, 10 years, that long-term hold, but it's like, even if you live in something for that 2 years, cut out that capital gains, you're most likely going to see an upside on it, anywhere around the central Ohio area. And we can definitely do things to be strategic if this is a short-term plan. Like I had an investor, first-time home buyer investor client who he specifically knew. He's like, I want to live here for 1 year. It's turning into a rental and we're like going to the next one. And so we were really strategic about, okay, this is where you're going to buy so that those numbers line up, knowing that you're only going to be in this for a short amount of time.
Yeah. And it's not just the equity piece too. Like you have tax advantages. You're also leveraging money from the bank at a lower percent interest rate. So now you can leverage larger chunks of money that are increasing in value. So there's just so many benefits to homeownership. However, that's not why we're here today. Today, we're talking about the neighborhoods of Columbus. So I want to kind of jump into that conversation and go down this list of amazing neighborhoods that are here in Columbus. And we're going to talk about all the things. And I think each of us have a unique perspective on it. So I'd love to start with German Village since you had your first purchase there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what do you want to know? What should I jump in with?
So German Village, it's a more quaint neighborhood. There's brick streets. Some of the amenities there are, it's an older neighborhood. I guess we could talk about like some of the landmarks like Schiller Park, and some of the hot spots there. But how would you describe German Village in general, and what type of clients would request to live in this area? What are they looking for?
Yeah. So what I find most interesting about German Village is it's the true. So when we lived in German Village, and then I worked at a bakery in German Village for several years, that was when I first really realized that German Village was like a tourist destination. Like growing up in Columbus, you don't think of it as somewhere someone would travel for pleasure. It's like you're here for work, you're here because you live here, you go to school here. But no, there really was people who would come here to visit, and even from out of the country, because they just wanted to see, Midwest cities. And German Village was always top on the list of like, oh, everyone says we have to come to German Village. It's like the small German town. We have to come to these like iconic restaurants. So it has a little bit of that visitor feel to it. So when you're living there, I remember when I worked there, people complaining about, like on the weekends, like the traffic gets so bad. Everyone's in the park, like all these people, no one knows where to park. That's like the big thing. And so I always find that funny, but it was always like a love-hate. Like they love to complain about it, but they love that where they live is that icon, and that people, they want to see the different architecture of their homes. I think that's the best part about German Village, is just being able to walk around and kind of look at the uniqueness and the architecture of these historic homes. Some of these homes are going on maybe even close to getting up towards 150 years old. Some of them, and they've been preserved so well. People don't realize there's actually kind of like a castle in German Village.
There is a castle. Yes.
Yeah. Which is like, where do you see that in a city?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my favorite part about it, is seeing all the architecture, and not just the cobblestone streets, but like the small, how they're all unique. Some of them are brick, some of them are sided. Some of them have been made a lot more modern, but still have that classic architecture to them. So it's so fun to just walk around and see that.
Yeah, it is challenging. Like we have a 2-car garage, but not much of a driveway. So if we're not parked in the garage, we're on the street. And so there's street parking, which can get a little bit interesting with the hustle and bustle. I will say though, most of the streets are brick. So if you're on, if you live on one of those streets, the traffic is somewhat limited because most people will go down a couple main corridors that are paved.
Right.
And so they're relatively quiet, which is nice. A lot of people are walking their dogs. I would probably say there's a lot of like retired folks. There's a lot of doctors, lawyers, professionals that live in the neighborhood. And I think what's driving that is the uniqueness of the neighborhood, but also it's public school system. So if you are going to have a family there, a lot of people go private schools. But not knocking Columbus schools, some of the best schools in the state, but there are other municipalities that have higher rated.
Let's agree to disagree on that point.
Well, Columbus as a whole. As a whole.
Sure.
But I don't think people are moving there for the school systems. They're moving there for the charm.
Yeah, I think the character is the number one driver. I like Izzy's way she described it. When she described it that way, it's like you think of like a Disneyland experience type thing. Like it's a small,
it really is.
Yeah, it's like a character. It's more for the tourists, or like even when we were living in Florence and the tourists would come in like in the summer seasons, and we're like, oh my God, you
get out of my way.
Yeah. Trying to get to class.
Yes. Come on. But I'm walking.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because now that we've done some work in that area, for me, the number one things that jumps in, in the front of my thoughts is basically the red tape you have to go through with some of the preservation and the commission and the other stuff that you have to do.
But on the other hand,
but it's a positive because like Izzy said, the character is so well preserved in that neighborhood.
Yeah. I also just like Sarah and I will grab the dogs. We don't have kids. We'll go for a walk. We'll stop at Lindy's for brunch. We'll go to Fox in the Snow for coffee. Like Cento is on 3rd there. Like there's just some really great places to walk and grab a cup of coffee, grab a meal. So it does have that city and that old world feel to it. And also we can see downtown. So we're literally 5 minutes away, which I like.
Yeah. And I love how it has a little bit of that like Central Park vibe of like, it has a lot of greenery. There's beautiful mature trees. People who are lucky enough to be able to have a garden, like have a large enough lot for something like that, they keep them up like beautifully. You see really mature foliage throughout and within the Scheller Park and then around it too. So that's always the fun. It's always reminded me a little bit of like that Central Park, like the city within the urban area.
Yeah.
And so especially during the spring and the fall, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's kind of shift gears and go to a different area, an area that you are an expert in, Powell. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I live in Powell, Ohio. But it was a journey to get there, literally and figuratively. So we started in German Village and then we made the move. I call it like the classic move for young couples, people who plan to have kids in Central Ohio. You start in German Village. We made our way to Clintonville for several years. Love Clintonville as well.
Yep.
And then we just kept driving north on 315. And the next spot we hit was Powell, Ohio. And it's probably one of the neighborhoods I knew the least about when we moved there, but have completely fallen in love with because it has its own kind of small town feel, but also downtown that similarly to say like German Village or Clintonville, there's historic old properties that have been renovated, turned into shops, restaurants. So it does have this very quaint like village feel to it with some decent places to get coffee, to get food, bars, all of that.
But you're probably driving to the downtown area, right?
Of course.
Not necessarily.
No.
So Powell is kind of diverse. There's, where I live in like southern Powell, we can walk to the downtown. There's several large like suburban neighborhoods that are like family friendly neighborhoods with decent sized homes, but you can still walk to that downtown area. So every morning, we can get up and walk to coffee, walk to a restaurant, walk to bars at night. There's live, they have a huge live music scene. So that's also something that's very fun in the summer. There's tons of different places that have live music. So that's like one chunk. And then you can go north and then you have what I call like country club, golf course Powell.
Yeah.
So if that's more your vibe, there's also that part of Powell as well, which can be very fun. But yeah, you're definitely getting in a car a little bit more to get to those places.
I thought you meant downtown like Columbus.
No.
When I hear
No,
downtown,
no.
yeah, now I get downtown
Yeah.
Powell. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah,
We're talking about
downtown
Powell.
Yeah. Well, to Izzy's point, though, again, it's got this village feel.
Yes.
So in my mind, when someone says downtown, I'm not thinking of like a busy metro area like Columbus downtown.
Yeah.
So it really does maintain that village character quite well, even though there is quite a bit that's going on there.
Agreed. And I would also say, like, in general, the lot sizes of these homes are a lot bigger, right?
Yeah.
Which is a total positive for a lot of people, especially if you have a big family or a growing family. I mean, I would love a larger lot also downtown, but like I still want to be downtown. And that's
even within Powell, like thinking about if you're in the northern part or the southern part of it. Some people kind of knock on these homes that were built maybe in the 70s or 80s. But the biggest benefit, if you can have the vision for it with those homes in the Powell area, is most of them are like a quarter to half to 3/4 of an acre lots.
huge.
So you're getting like huge space. Like nowadays, if you go and do a new build, you're maybe getting like 0.15, 0.2 lot postage stamp, like right next to your neighbor. But if you go into these older neighborhoods in Powell, you're getting a lot of benefit of like that space that people just cannot find nowadays in even in the suburban communities.
We were just talking location. So find out where do you want to be, go there, and then you can always modify your house. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. What about the schools? I know Powell has some pretty good schools.
So we have, it's the Olentangy School District, which is interesting. It's actually one of the largest school districts in Ohio. It's extremely highly rated, but it spans really far, like almost all the way up to Delaware and across towards Westerville. So it's a pretty large school district, but where you're at in Powell is one of the things people really like about Powell is
close.
A good chunk of it won't be redistricted. So the schools that are there now, because we're so landlocked already, those schools are there and people love them. The elementary, the high school, people have a lot of preference to those. So it's definitely, it's huge on education and on sports. They win a lot of like state championships. So if that's something you're looking for your kid, I know that there are great programs there.
Yeah, Danny is looking in that area. It's perfect for him.
Yeah,
his kids.
it's one of the top spots I would say for families to be looking, especially with the schools and everything they have going on that front.
Yeah.
So that was one of the areas we considered when we were looking too. So we ended up in Delaware as well, just a little bit more to the east. But,
and your money's going a longer ways further out from the downtown Columbus area. Like as you get into the burbs a little bit, your money goes farther.
Yeah, your price per square foot definitely goes down.
So if we're still trying to maintain this family thing, let's focus on one of my favorite neighborhoods, Grandview.
Okay.
Over the decades, it's been voted best place to live and raise a family in America.
And like Powell itself, it's its own city with its own regulation and everything.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yep.
Like Grandview also has. So I'm thank you for bringing the architecture piece into the conversation, Paul.
Yeah, because German Village is in Columbus. You go through Columbus, but like Powell is completely separate, and then same thing with Grandview Heights. It's a completely separate jurisdiction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Grandview, what an awesome neighborhood. I just want to that's where I bought my first property. We have a fourplex in Grandview. Technically, it's 5th by Northwest, but we're right there. Next to the Starbucks.
Semantics.
Yeah, semantics. It's close enough. So I get the vibe of Grandview where we were, and we actually lived in one of the units when we first moved here before we renovated everything and bought a house. But
nice.
So let's talk about the family. It has a great school system, right? So you're probably not going to see, you're going to see smaller houses, and the bigger houses that you do see are going to come with a significant price tag. But the school's incredible. It's a safe neighborhood. I love how safe it is. It feels great you can still see the skyline of Columbus.
Yeah.
That is growing and changing. And you have this this very kind of intimate relationship with the downtown, but you're not downtown. It feels suburban, in my opinion, with like kind of like with this easy access to the city. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I love Grandview. I think a big thing that's always been the draw for Grandview, and my family actually is from Grandview. I never lived there, but that's where my dad grew up and things like that, is people kind of forget that not only is Columbus a city, but we're also a college town. And Grandview is like the original suburb that supported Ohio State. So Ohio State University, one of the largest universities in Columbus. Grandview, when you think about things like the doctors that work at Ohio State Hospital, professors, they all moved to Grandview. That's where the shift was. And at the time, at least per my dad, he told me, it was a little bit of like a hippie town, because it was like, where all the educated people were living like years and years. Not that the educated people don't live other places, but it was definitely like a lot of faculty lived there. It was a lot, like they were the main employer of the area. And I think that really shaped kind of what we saw come into Grandview over time. And I still see that a lot when I help clients down there. It's often, medical professionals or even people who are going there for residency. They're like, Grandview, I can get to work in 5 minutes. And so that definitely shapes the area. And they love, the walkability of, being close to like Grandview Avenue, where there's some great restaurants, great shopping, there's coffee shops on every corner.
Stops.
There's some very cool parks.
Yeah. The grind. I do love, because from a short-term rental standpoint, whenever we have a game, Ohio State game, our rates go up. We are booked solid on all game days because of the close proximity to the university district, but it's not the university district because that has a totally different feel, which we can talk about next. You're really getting a quiet, safe neighborhood feel in Grandview with the ability to walk to coffee. It's kind of like you get the best of all worlds. And then it's probably why I lean towards it. Schools and everything. So again, it does come with a price tag. So there are even some large lots too. There's a section of Grandview that has smaller lots. There's a section of Grandview that has larger lots, and those are very sought after.
Yeah, I would agree with you though. The fact that you're one step removed from the university and the university district. I mean, that area, it's like you feel like you're on campus almost sometimes.
Yes.
Versus Grandview, where you have that, again, like you're right there, but it's a buffer that's created, and you really do feel that separation, but you have the proximity, like you said.
Well, good.
It's very unique.
So good segue. Let's talk about the university district then, because again, very close to Grandview, completely different experience. Like for me, it does feel like a college campus. If you're young, that's not a bad thing. If you're an investor, there's opportunity. But you're right. You see a lot of young people. There are also a higher percentage of rentals in the university district, but there's also some opportunities. A lot of zoning changes that are happening with the city are happening there. You have the university, which is, $1 billion industry that is ever expanding.
Yeah. Zoning they have their own overlay. So there's like special rules to work within the university district itself. So, yeah.
And it's...
No,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just going to say the university district, it's interesting you talk about the zoning too, because so I actually grew up like on Ohio State campus. Like that's where like my grandmother's duplex was. So like multifamilies, like renting to college students.
Yep.
But the biggest thing, especially with my investors, when we're looking at it, and I see more and more teardowns, is the housing on the university district is aging so rapidly.
Yes.
So I always prepare people. There's some really cool houses, but they are getting up there in age.
They need some love.
And they need some love. And oftentimes they have not gotten that love for like 60, 70, 80 years. You're dealing with a lot of the old stuff. So that's always an interesting thing to tackle. But it's like when it's a rental, college kids will put up with a lot, but then when you think about the long term of your investment, you want to keep it up in shape. So it's definitely one of those you have to consider when going into those areas, because that's some of the first housing that was built in Columbus years and years and years ago.
Yeah, the houses there are typically a little bit larger as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of like multiple unit, like we've done like some duplexes, triplexes, 4-unit buildings like in the area that are, a solid building. But again, like 4 units within one building is quite a bit of square footage.
And even like some attic conversions where if it's a 4-plex, they want to add another 2 units on the top level. And so that's fun with the overlay, but we made it happen. A whole different ball of wax here. How about this? What about also right in that immediate area? We have Upper Arlington, not too far away, and it's an amazing neighborhood. But people have feelings sometimes strongly one way or the other because it's not Grandview. It's a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Your lots are typically bigger. Your streets are typically a little quieter. There's not a whole lot of places. There's some sections of it where you can walk to coffee shops, but not really. It's more drivable. There's private driveways. There's the country club. The houses are big. The houses are expensive. The schools are great. But it's a completely different kind of vibe, in my opinion, than what you'd see in Grandview.
Yeah. UA or Upper Arlington, UA is kind of my like sleeper neighborhood a little bit. I've lived in Columbus my entire life. So Upper Arlington, been going around that area, Lane Avenue. My parents worked for Ohio State, so we were in that area a lot. And like you said, a lot of people have biased, and it was one of those areas when we were house hunting, we were like, we do not want to live in UA. Like it was really associated with kind of like stuffy.
Yeah, but it's not because it's not a bad area,
no,
right?
Not at all.
It's just a very different, vibe that's there.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset or an attitude that's just a little bit different.
It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is. But my opinion has really changed probably in the last 5-10 years or so as I've seen, the development of like Tremont Plaza, that's really come a long way, adding like Littleton's. Lupo is one of our favorite restaurants to venture out to over that way.
Yeah.
They've really kind of seen a turnaround in reinvesting in their infrastructure and reinvesting in getting businesses to come in and be interested. Because for a while it was the same restaurants that had been there for 75 years, owned by the same families, which is wonderful. But it gets a little, unless you really, really love this one Italian, it gets a little boring. But they've really turned it around in the last probably 5-10 years. And I've seen an influx of a lot more people. It's always been desirable, but even more desirable now because it does have a wonderful school district. Like you said, you're getting those bigger lots, but you're still just a stone's throw from Ohio State, from downtown. So it is one of those like first suburbs that if you work downtown, if you work for Ohio State, it's a nice place to be because your commute is so quick. And you can still really get that family-friendly neighborhood.
But you're paying for it as well. Like I said, there's a huge stock of large homes that are multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah.
They also have the Golden Ghetto, which I love. I did a flip there a few years back. And I mean, these tiny houses, that they're not too many, but in UA are, they'll go for $800,000. The price per square foot's through the roof. So it's interesting to see if people who feel adamant about living there, and there is a tribe for that for sure. They'll pay top dollar for these small houses.
I love about UA too, because I do still think there's still a decent surplus of those fixer-uppers available. So if a family wants to get in there, they might have an opportunity if they act quickly to get in there for around the 4, 5, 6. I hate to say that 600,000 is a fixer-upper, but it can be.
It's totally dated for that price point.
Yeah. And you can get in there, but the beauty of UA is the money you put in, you will 100% see it back. You can force appreciation so much in UA. And I think that's, one of those long-term, like thinking about things is like, yeah, you can get the house, make it exactly what you want, and you will see that return down the line.
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna have to do some research, but like I'm curious, like was Upper Arlington? Were they always a separate city, or like when did that happen? I know there's like history and character. There's like some historic commissions within the city. Obviously, for us, when we deal with them in the building department, they're incredibly strict when it comes to like rules and regulations. So I just didn't know, like
it's not as old. It's not as old as most as some of the other neighborhoods.
It may have been annexed at some point. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Similar to effect.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a side note for me.
Well, let's jump into another really high-end neighborhood, New Albany. That has a fascinating story too with Wexner and how it was developed and all the money that came in from New York to create this.
He basically built his own city. Yeah. Literally, whole city.
White picket fences, large lots, and very strict building regulations in terms of like your house needs to be brick and it needs to be this size and it needs to look amazing. But I mean, seeing the aftermath of all that, and even with New Albany annexing Johnstown and the development of...
And that was what, in the 2000s is when he started, or was it...
I'm not sure when
was it only like 20, 30...
Like late 90s.
So 30-ish
when like Victoria's
years.
Secret and L Brands really took off.
Right.
Yeah, so it's fairly recent, basically.
Well, and it's expanding because they annexed that section of land with Intel and all this other stuff that's happening and bringing in that investment. It's always been, it feels very strategic. The leadership of that community is like, okay, how can we bring in these people to, create this economy?
Yeah, they definitely have a strategy that's been like mapped out, or somebody's very carefully thinking about their next moves for sure.
And the developments there really feel like a campus, like a planned, where there's a water feature and there's a side, a walkway around this water feature, and the lots are big, and there's a barrier between the main road and the community where there's a fence and like maybe even a drive between there, so they have their privacy. Which I think it's great. It's different, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a driving community. It's like you said, very private driveways where your, front door is. Not everyone's going to be able to like walk up to it. I mean, that's not every neighborhood. Some of them, the houses are a little closer together, but they're definitely more kind of stately areas, and you do feel like it's like, oh, this was a very planned community, and they do a lot to upkeep it. I think that's one of my favorite parts about New Albany.
The landscaping.
What, love or hate it, they're very strict about it, but it does make it, if you hate like being regulated, New Albany is probably not the place for you, but it does make it really beautiful. Like when I walk around, I'm like, or I'm there for an open house or something, I'm like, man, like they do a good job.
I'm probably becoming that old man's like, get off my lawn. I'm putting up a fence.
See, you would fit in there.
Yeah.
You do just
I might have to move to New Albany. Yeah. There we go. Well, let's shift gears.
Yeah.
Let's go to, I really like this neighborhood. Let's talk about Bexley for a second. Really unique neighborhood in itself as well, just like every neighborhood we're talking about. But like for me, Bexley is there's a lot of changes happening right now, in my opinion. There's a lot of development, and a lot of people who bought these smaller houses are now, instead of moving, they're putting on these huge additions, right? And
adding on, yeah.
And they're creating this whole new ideology of what Bexley is. But I mean, typically Bexley are these smaller homes, fairly expensive. You're kind of not downtown, but you kind of are, and you're surrounded by some communities that are, in the past had not been so highbrow, right? We can call it, I guess. But a really strong sense of community. A lot of good amenities in terms of coffee shops and places to live your life. What are your thoughts on Bexley?
I love Bexley. I do think, like you said, community was the first word that came to mind. I feel like Bexley's that small town vibe of everyone knows everyone in Bexley. And you go to the grocery store and you're like running into your neighbor, you're running into someone from the school, and everyone's so friendly. It's a very much like, once you're in there, it does feel pretty welcoming to me.
Agreed.
When I'm down there, when I have clients in that area. But again, you're getting a lot of that convenience of being very close to downtown. You're also very close to like out east, the airport, things for commuting, industry that is out that way. I mean, we have a military base out that way that employs almost 10,000 people. So You get a lot of that convenience right off of Broad Street as well. But again, when you go kind of into the inner parts of Bexley, again, beautiful, mature foliage, mature neighborhoods, beautiful houses that still have that historic feel. But like you said, people have come in and are doing really large additions. I don't see as much tear down in Bexley. I feel like people are trying really hard to preserve the homes, which maybe you guys would know regulation wise. Maybe it's just harder to tear down a house there
it
than it
is
is other places.
Yeah, and they have a design commission as well where you have to go through it. So
Right.
if you're doing an addition on your house,
They're fairly strict.
Yeah, they're fairly strict as well. They don't want to see people come in again because they're larger lots. They're lots with mature trees. They don't want to see you come in and just like bulldoze the house that's there and rebuild. You know,
I think they're open. So every municipality right now is looking to increase their tax base and density. So, I mean, these, like I was mentioning earlier, there's a handful of houses they're doing an addition, like 2-story additions that are as big or bigger than the original footprint of the house. So now we're starting to see this new housing type of stock that is multi-million-dollar homes and that are gorgeous.
Yeah, and it depends, but like some of the homes that we've worked on in Bexley were on the smaller side.
Yeah.
So it's easy when you do an addition that, essentially you're doubling the square footage of the house, if
That's true.
not more, because again, the house to begin with really wasn't that big to start off.
It's like 1,500 square feet or something like that.
Yeah. And nowadays I feel like the modern family, you need to aim for 2,000 plus, for square footage. If you're a family going into the area. And again, Bexley is another one of those areas where the schools are desirable, the land is desirable, and it's a really good family environment.
The lots are kind of on the smaller side, but they're longer. They're like narrow but longer, kind of like German Village, where they're great candidates for like an ADU. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to see a lot more of in that neighborhood,
that's cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I feel like in Bexley, a lot of multi-generational families. So things like ADUs would be awesome. You have like family visiting, things like that.
All right, we're going to move on to one of my favorite neighborhoods. It's the New York City in me, but it feels Columbus is my home now, but I always it took me a long time to let go of New York City. Even when I lived here for years, I still said I'm from New York City. But I would say the short north feels like Queens. It feels like Brooklyn. It has that New York vibe that's just so fun and has that energy that really kind of lights me up. It has a lot of restaurants, like transportation, storefronts, kind of very energized, I guess is the good way I can say it. And
it's an activity center.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity there. Yeah.
And immediately adjacent to downtown. So it's super kind of the center of the universe.
Yeah. It's funny because Short North has really defined itself as its own neighborhood. But growing up, that was downtown. Like when you went downtown, you were going to the Short North because that's where all the good restaurants are, shopping, the beautiful Goodale Park is right there. We'd go to a community festival. Like we always considered that downtown, but now I feel like the Short North has really tried to carve itself out as like its own neighborhood. And it's definitely a vibe if you want to live down there. I mean, it's more condo life, living above, maybe a restaurant or a shop. You're living in like a mixed use building. A lot of those. They don't have a ton of single family homes. I mean, unless you want to count, Italian Village, which is kind of just its own neighborhood. But
or Victorian Village is also right adjacent to the Short North.
Yeah, I mean, because if I would consider it, and of course these houses are huge, right? And beautiful, and a lot of them are either converted to multifamily or are being rented out as Airbnb. They're not starter homes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Short North, it's definitely more of a rental community. I mean, there's definitely people that own and live there, but you are going to be mixed in with quite a bit of people who are maybe more transient, only going to be there for a couple of years. I don't see a lot of my clients, at least even when they do buy down there, they're usually calling me within a couple of years to say, all right, time to move on to the next thing.
Fair enough. You're also seeing like some mid-rises going in. It does feel a lot more, as you said, downtown because apparently it is.
Yeah. And I mean, I think our need for housing, mid-rises are going to be the way to go. And I'm interested to kind of see how popular that is. Are we going to get more people kind of driving towards living in that area in the downtown? We don't have a ton of that. That's not always in Central Ohio people's first first place they think to live, honestly.
I think we're getting a lot of people moving from like California, New York, who are like, oh, I want my gym in my building. I want to have my bank or grocery store downstairs. Like
they want their amenities.
Yeah, it might not. If you start having kids and that's now we're having a different conversation about lifestyle, but I think it's a young person's dream neighborhood.
I'm not sure how much we'll go into areas like that, though, because there's still historic and overlay and zoning stuff that you have to deal with. So I think it's like areas adjacent where they have rezoned the corridors. Like you are going to see more like bigger apartment complexes going in, or, you know, again, like housing will definitely be developed based on the new zoning that, I mean, we already have projects that are coming through based on that. But yeah, I don't know about directly in the short north. I still think it's going to maintain its personality, you know, quite well, and without these new projects getting developed.
And just down the street, a quarter mile, you have like the convention center and new sky rises actively going up right now. So
the North Market, all of that.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a step back to a quieter neighborhood. We've
bounced around so much.
I know.
The different.
I think this is so much fun.
It's we're in Columbus now. We're not in Columbus. We're in Columbus again.
Yeah.
we just got a couple more. We're gonna talk about Worthington for a second. How do you guys?
Two more, and the last two are actually kind of grouped together somewhat.
Okay.
So it's like riverfront and, you know, greenery and a lot bigger lots. It's Dublin and Worthington
and Clintonville.
Oh, Clintonville's not on my list.
Yeah.
Well, I have a different list than you, Paul.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can group Dublin and Worthington together. I don't know if those residents are going to agree with that. They're both pretty unique.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about Worthington.
Yeah, they're separate areas of the city. They have their own character.
I love old downtown Worthington. It is so just quaint, and it feels just so. It is unique. I love the architecture. The houses are there's no cookie cutterness to them. Everything's different. It just feels like a diverse, kind of well-balanced community. It does have kind of a suburb feel, but you still have some city amenities. Like, I think it's a fun neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's similar to Dublin. It's out on the ring road, right? You're further away from the city. You're definitely more in this suburban category. Your lots are a little bit larger. Your house is a little bit larger. Your money goes a little bit further. Mm-hmm. So
schools are good.
Schools are a lot better. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very highly rated. I love downtown Worthington. I call it my 4th of July city because it just has that historic, like on the 4th of July, there's a parade going down with like every American flag you could see, and every kid has a sparkler. Like it just has the perfect, like iconic look for that. So I always call it like the 4th of July city.
It was founded. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was founded by a New England company, apparently. Mm-hmm. And so it does have this classic, like, Vermont village feel to it, which is really fun.
Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a very East Coast feel to it, and that kind of small town. And, you know, the way they've done a really good job with, like, the architecture along all the shops along the main road, and kind of keeping that feel, keeping that vibe throughout. And again, you're still, you know, you are what I call in like suburb world, but you're still so close to everything, you know, it's right off of the main highways and things. So you're getting that convenience, but especially old Worthington, I feel, because Worthington's pretty big, and, you know, you have more of that cookie cutter area with larger lots, larger homes. But then you also have old Worthington, which again, like you have these homes that have been preserved that are, I mean, I toured a home probably 2 years ago that was built in 1870 in old Worthington. And they were like selling it for someone to live in. Like it was fully ready to go. It had been completely redone. And that's just so cool to see. Like you don't see that type of, even in German Village, like seeing that age of home. Like sometimes some of these smaller suburbs were actually founded like before a lot of the city was built up. So it's so interesting to see.
I love old homes. And to be fair, Columbus doesn't have a huge stock of them, like from the 1800s. No. You see more of that in Cincinnati or even Cleveland, but like, I just love big old homes.
There's even some very unique neighborhoods within Worthington. There's the Rush Creek Village that we're going to go visit. Actually, we have a AAA tour, and it's this very unique community that was set up based on, I think it was Usonian
Oh yeah.
architecture principles like that Frank Lloyd Wright was like involved with. And
Oh,
again,
cool.
like these homes are just incredibly unique and, you know, at this point, historic. Like I think the whole neighborhood is considered, I don't know if it's on the like landmark registry or anything like that, but I think it is a certain category of.
There's a commission for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, like again, that's in Worthington.
Yeah. All right, let's shift into Dublin. And Dublin also, this is going to be a fun talk because my favorite part of Dublin is actually Bridge Park, which it's so new that some people don't even consider that Dublin because Dublin's big.
Yeah. Yeah. Dublin is like, I feel like what we've been talking about mostly now, I mean, whatever the specific term is, but like I consider Dublin as like a whole nother city.
Yeah.
Like their population has grown so much. You know, they have Bridge Park, they have all these different areas within Dublin and different age of housing. And then you can go all the way out to like Jerome, where you have Golf Course World and, you know, all these huge homes. But then you also have Old Dublin, which is the historic area. And it's definitely got several different variations just within that one city. Like Dublin's where I say you're not getting as much of that small town vibe. Like it's a big plot of land, but still a great community feel, great schools, a little something for everyone. Because with Bridge Park, you know, they're trying to have a little bit of that downtown vibe, condos, the walkability.
Yep.
But then you also can go out and get these huge homes and have kind of the sprawling comfort of a big backyard and things like that, all in the same city.
Yeah, my only challenge with Dublin is it's a drive from downtown. It's 25 minutes ish, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Downtown Columbus.
Downtown
if we're going to say
Columbus,
downtown, you
yes.
got to be specific.
Okay, Paul. Okay. But I think
Or downtown Dublin.
Yeah.
Which downtown?
and I guess are we going to split hairs with is a 20-minute drive or 25-minute drive a lot? I mean, 10 years ago it was, and now
again,
it's becoming more standard with how Columbus is expanding and growing.
But the interstate's right there, like the ring road around Columbus and Central Ohio, like you're right on the ring road and you have great access, and it truly is not that bad of a drive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it kind of depends. It definitely depends on your perspective, because that was one of the questions you had sent me ahead of time was about, you know, what's one of the biggest changes I've seen in Columbus. And living here my whole life, it's the traffic.
Yes.
And I coach a lot of my clients, especially because I work with a lot of relocation on where they want to live. And I always say, it's easy to move out and make your commute longer. As Columbus continues to grow, it will be much harder to move in. So if you know you need to be close to something, or there's something that's important to you, whether that's a job or you know, you have a particular area you like to hang out in, it's like now is the time to buy close to that. You can always, if you're like, I'm sick of city life, whether that's Dublin city life or downtown city life, you can always move out. We have plenty of land everywhere to move out, but like moving in is going to come harder and harder. And that commute is I used to say everything in Columbus took 20 minutes. Now it's more like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I've been in this city for about 6 years now. And over the last 6 years, the traffic and driving around has dramatically changed.
Well, you also kind of came in.
Yeah.
I came from Chicago.
You hit COVID, and
I came in right before COVID, and I came from Chicago, and their traffic was a nightmare. So when I came here, I'm like, I can take a nap and drive places. This is a dream. Now it's getting to the point where it's like I'm starting to get annoyed as I drive around.
There's some spots.
Me too. And
it's
only 6 years. And again, I've noticed a dramatic shift in the traffic patterns.
The city is planning for it. We have a lot of road, new clover leaves going up, highway maintenance.
They got to put some more roundabouts by me.
They're doing a lot of roundabouts everywhere. Yeah.
I love roundabouts now. Keep the people moving.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, if they know how to use it.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
I was going to say Dublin. My first impression of Dublin was actually the Irish Festival, which is like renowned and everybody that draws a huge crowd.
The memorial's coming up. Like there's a lot of great things.
Yeah, the memorial tournament.
Yeah. There's just so many good places to live in Columbus, which leads us to our last neighborhood for this podcast, and this is actually Columbus jurisdiction, city of Columbus, and Clintonville has an interesting story in my opinion. When I first moved here 9 years ago, it was a little spotty. There were some places where it's like, I don't know if I want to live there. I don't know if I want to deal with those from an investment property. I don't know if I want to deal with that. There are definitely some awesome places. I'm like, oh, this is so cute and charming, and I just love this feel. And then it just snuck up on me, and like over the last decade, it has turned into just such a creative, just this fun, collective community that has like this vibrant culture. It almost feels like this Pacific Northwest where we have these great, cool gardens, and like it has its own unique vibe also.
It definitely does. It is more of that like arts, music, cultural hub, I think, for the city. Again, it's like the first suburb outside of Ohio State. And so again, you're getting a lot of those transplants from the university, whether they're coming here to go to school, work for the university. I had a client, they bought a house in Clintonville just a couple of years ago. She's a professor of photography. What was really important to her is we found a place with a garage that she converted into her photography studio. And it's like, you see cool things like that in Clintonville a lot, where people are being very creative with their homes.
Yep.
Clintonville doesn't have a lot of regulation because it is just the city of Columbus. So you do get to drive around and kind of see, you might see a purple house every once in a while, some interesting things with what people have done. I think Clintonville too is where I've seen some people go anti-grass, and they're doing wildflower gardens in their front yard
to the extreme.
Yeah, which is very fun to see as well.
But it's also
but still a very family-friendly community.
Yes,
fun area to be.
And it's also more affordable as well, right? Like you're not that far away from things, but in terms of cost,
price per square foot, actually no, but the housing stock's actually housing stock's actually a little smaller. So I think that's where they kind of sit. You get that perception because you're still going to have.
Well, like Upper Arlington is not that far from Clintonville, but like completely different in terms of like price point.
Yeah.
Say we have a $600,000 or $700,000 home in Clintonville. It might only be 1,800 square feet. So I mean, price per square foot, it can fight a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just you're not going to get these big, massive houses with a 3-car garage and a driveway that doesn't exist. In Clintonville.
No, the lot size in Clintonville, I mean, you're much more like city style, closer together houses. Also, the housing stock in comparison to say Upper Arlington is a lot older. So you're looking at early 1900s homes versus Upper Arlington. You're getting a few more of those like mid-century modern, maybe 50s, 60s homes. So you do, again, it's just a very different style of architecture. But I agree with Nick, is people think of Clintonville as being attainable, and it's actually it can be pricey, and it can be extremely competitive.
Especially there's some zones there where the state park comes through, and you have this protected area like the valley, and it's just like there's deer everywhere. It's just you don't even feel like you're in Columbus, and you feel like you're in Hawking, but you are literally downtown.
That's one of the huge benefits, I think, of Clintonville as well, is you are right on the Olentangy Trail. So if you want to bike to work, that's your neighborhood. That is exactly where you can be. You hit that trail. It's very safe to bike on that trail versus having to like manage city streets and whatnot. And you can get down to all the different areas for work and stuff down that way very easily. So I see that as like a big draw for a lot of buyers, is if they want that not having to drive commute, that's the easiest way. Or if they're just really into biking, which is also a thing.
I'm trying to convince Paul to buy a bike. I love biking. I don't do road biking. I do like a little trailing, nothing crazy, but
fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an awesome conversation. I had so much fun. Cool. Izzy, can you tell us, as we wrap this up, first of all, anything you want to share about you and your business, please, how can we find you? Who should be calling you? Who's your ideal client? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. I work all over Central Ohio. So definitely if you're thinking about, Central Ohio, I go pretty much everywhere, all the way up to like Delaware City, all the way down, Grove City, Canal, Winchester. There's a ton of growth happening down that way.
We can talk about those neighborhoods on our next podcast together.
Yeah. I'll give you a list. We'll hit some more. There's so many more we could hit. I love to help people, families, first time home buyers who I say kind of in a transition phase. So whether that means, you're relocating and so you're new to Columbus and you need someone to give you that introduction, or you're just you're in a change, whether you're downsizing or maybe your family is growing and you are looking for that jump from neighborhood to neighborhood. I'm really good at guiding people through that and through those kind of big moments of transition. So always happy to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest way.
I was going to say, it's not like you can pick one. It's like each neighborhood has different positives and negatives, right? It's very hard. Like if I asked you which neighborhood would you pick of all the ones that we talked about, it'd be a very impossible thing to point your finger and say, this is the one that I would take above all others, because each one has such unique. So like you said, whether you're jumping neighborhood to neighborhood or whatever.
That's why I love being an investor and I like to buy houses everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely appreciate how you tossed that out there, because I mean, like each one has its own positives, negatives, and it's, if you have someone like yourself guiding you through that process, you really get an understanding of why it's good to be here versus there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, when especially if you're not from here and you're kind of Googling and you get these biases online and maybe you have a narrow focus, and I can, depending on what we're talking through, be like, hey, let's look over here. Like, let's give this a try. This might be a fit for what you're looking for. So always love to have those conversations with people.
Yeah. Izzy, where can people find you?
Probably Instagram for the purposes of this is the easiest way. So it's Izzy Trep on Instagram. So IZZYTREP. Feel free to send me a message, follow me on there.
Amazing. We'll put that in the show notes so people can reach out.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for taking the time today. This has been, I love talking about housing and real estate and design, and I could do it all day long.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with us.
I know you guys taught me a couple things, like with all your architecture speak.
So
I'll have to brush up before we talk
Well,
again.
it takes a team of people to get some of these projects done. Like we
Absolutely.
rely on realtors, quite a bit, and you guys obviously sometimes are calling us for, advice and input. Yeah.
I know. I'm excited to see some projects we might be kind of working on together.
That's right. We got one coming up.
See what happens. Yeah.
Well, we'll stop there. And with that, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.